My name is Tyler Rinne. I am 9 years old. On December 2nd, I'm 10. Right now, it's September 4th, 1997. Well, here's the story. Chapter 1. Well, one day, me and my friends, Mitch, Keith, Stetson, Lance, and I, were walking down the sidewalk when a man around his 20s offered us $2,000 if we went to this island south of Florida. But there isn't one south of Florida, Mitch told him. Oh, yes, there is. Just no one has came back from it. You aren't saying it's dangerous, are you? I said. Oh no. And here's a list of things to bring. The things on the list were food, pistols, one for each, stun gun, pocket knives, notepads, pencils, binoculars, books, and a lot more. The next day, we had packed everything and we got on our boat and we were on our way. On the way to the island, I barfed at least twice, and we all found out there wasn't a toilet on the boat. Once we got to the island, the captain told us he wasn't going to get too close to the island. He gave us a radio and said, call me on this when you want picked up. Okay, Keith told him. We found a very tall tree and took the metal pipes and made something like a hide in the Lost World Jurassic Park. But at that time, we didn't think there were dinosaurs on this island right then. Hey, this is like the hide in the Lost World Jurassic Park, Stetson put in. Not hardly, I told him. No one's going to get their heads ripped off like Eddie Carr. Hey, who knows? There really might be dinosaurs on this island, Mitch told us. Really, there might be, Lance told us. Don't keep your hopes up, I told them. We put up a ladder and looked out across the valley. And then I saw them. Dinosaurs. Then, in the background, I could hear Mitch saying, I told you so. 3 adult brachiosaurs and 1 baby. 3 pterodactyls flying in the clear blue sky. And 2 male pachycephalosaurs butting heads fighting for the female. Then I saw them, the glowing eyes of the raptors in the forest, and 1 lone chasmosaurus grazing on a fern. You could see the tall grass waving as 5 paths heading directly at the chasmosaurus. I mean, it was completely calm, just grazing. Then 1 raptor sprung out of its hiding place and we heard, scream! The chasmosaurus spun around and roared, "Meow!" The raptor landed on its back and started ripping at the flesh. The chasmosaurus twisted its head around, trying to stab it with its massive horns. Then 2 more raptors sprang. 1 landed right on its back. The other wasn't so lucky. It landed right in the middle of one of its horns and was killed. The chasmosaurus twisted its head and the dead raptor flew off of its horns. The other 2 raptors began to feast on the dead raptor. Cool! Mitch, Keith, Lance, and Stetson hollered. Shh! I said. The 2 raptors that were feasting on the other raptor looked up in alarm and started walking toward the hide. Chapter 2. The chasmosaurus wasn't going to give up without a fight. Then, out of nowhere, down swooped a pterodactyl and grabbed the raptor with its talons and flew off. The chasmosaurus ran away as fast as it could. The 2 raptors didn't seem interested in the kill or the chasmosaurus, just the sound. They looked around, and then they looked up, and then they hissed. One of them started calling for the other raptors. No! 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 Then at least 16 other raptors came into view. Then the first 2 raptors pointed their heads upward to show the others where we were. We all swallowed hard when the raptors started roaring and jumping at the hide. Mitch, Hand me the gun. He handed me the gun, and I shot. I shot like heck. I killed 3 of them. 15 to go. Mitch, do you have any more guns? I said. 3 pistols and a flare gun. Mitch, take my pistol and hand the others the pistols and give me the flare gun. What good's a flare gun? Mitch said. Just give me it! Well, I got that flare gun, and I shot it right at the raptors. I set 6 on fire, and Stetson killed 3, Mitch killed 2, Lance killed none, and Keith killed 1. They were all dead except 2. The 2 that attacked the Chasmosaurus, which were now feasting on the dead raptors. They couldn't care less about us. After the raptors left, we reloaded our guns and came down from the high-hide, and we walked about 2 miles away from the high-hide. It started to sprinkle. Then it turned into a downpour. We could hear the rumble of thunder, and we could see the flashes of lightning. Then we heard another noise. It sounded like this. Then another. T-Rex, 2 of them. They found prey. Us. He hollered. Rah, 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 rah. And 2 babies. The adults are probably the mother and father. The second baby put his head up, opened its mouth, and roared, with the rain sprinkling in its mouth. It turned out more like this. Goog. We couldn't help laughing. Hee hee ha ho hoo 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 hoo. The adults put up their heads in alarm, looked around, and then the adults charged at us. I reached for the flare gun. 1 shot left. I missed the charging one and hit the baby. It screamed, Rah! The baby fell to the ground, killed. Eventually the fire went out. This could be a very good time to run, Stetson suggested. Yep. Well, we turned and we ran like the dickens. The Rex charged us. Surprisingly, the baby was faster than the adults. It landed on my backpack and started ripping at it. His teeth sank through the tin of canned beef. The baby started eating the beef. The adults smelled the beef too. The adults charged at the baby. The father ate the baby and the mother ate the beef, and we kept running. The high-hide was 15 feet away. In the background, we heard this. Roar! Boom, 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 roar! Arr! Boom, boom, boom! They were right behind us! Keith was the first up the ladder to the high-hide, then Stetson, Lance, and me. When Mitch started going, the ladder fell over. He grabbed onto the bottom bars of the high-hide. Roar! Snap! The Rex bit off one of Mitch's shoes. The backpack's too heavy, Mitch yelled. Drop it, I told him. He dropped it, and it landed right in the father's mouth. The mother swung her head at Mitch and hit him. Mitch flew off the high-hide and landed on the Rex's head. He held on to her eyelids. It had stopped raining, and a herd of gallimimus just ran by. Ty, why don't we hop on those, gallimimus stets. Well, anyway, let's hop on those whatchamacallits and distract the Rexes so Mitch can get away. Stets? Ty? How are we gonna do that? Chapter 3. Use the stun gun, Lance suggested. Oh, it was in Mitch's backpack, I told them. See ya! I jumped out of the high-hide and landed right on the gallimimus's back. It screamed, Krrr! That got the Rex's attention. Oh, yeah! Stetson, king of the jungle! Stetson was swinging on a vine. He let go and landed on a gallimimus. Rah! The Rexes lost attention on Mitch. Mitch, stab him with your pocket knife! So he did. Roar! The Rex twisted its head frantically and Mitch flew off. Mitch hit the ground, got on a Gallimimus. So did Keith and Lance. Roar! That was all the Gallimimuses needed to start. They took off at 50 miles per hour. The Rex was going at least 49 miles per hour. Snap, snap! The Rex was biting at us. Water! Water up ahead! Stets shouted. So? I yelled. The water's dark. That means it's deep. So what do you want us to do? Lance asked him. Duh! Jump in, you dork! Mitch told him. Hurry, get your gear on, I said. Keith, get the goggles and you wear them. Put them over your glasses because you can't see without them. Stets, get on your diving suit. Mitch, take the air tanks. Lance, start inflating the raft. I took off my shirt. And as soon as we got close enough, we dived into the pond. The Rex stopped dead in his tracks and walked away. Ty, do you copy, Ty? Great. Stets found the communicator. Now he'll be messing with it all the time. What, Stets? Nothing. I just wanted to do that. Was that you, Stets? Stets! Ty, it's me, Mitch. There's something on the monitor. Keith, are you okay? Yeah, but not for long. What kind of dino is it? I asked him. Plesiosaurus. Oh no, I thought. I'll be right over to help you. I swam as I have never swam before. There it was, a plesiosaurus. I pulled out my pocket knife and struck the plesiosaur. Scrah! Snap! Rah! I grabbed onto its neck and it started swimming to the surface. Swoosh! Rah! Snap! Snap! I stabbed it in the neck and it cried out. Splash! It had died. Ty, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Come on up to the surface. The Rex is gone. What about that long neck swimming thing? It's dead, Lance. Good. Shush, shush, shush. They all came to the surface. Ow! Lance said. You okay, Lance? I said. There's something on my leg. Splash! The water turned pink. Me and Stetson dove under. A young ichthyosaurus was on Lance's leg. Splash, 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 splash. 4 20-year-olds dove into the water. Why were they here? Stiz, tong! A harpoon hit the ichthyosaurus. It fell off Lance's leg. He was hurt badly. One of the men grabbed Lance and took him to the surface. What are you kids doing here? Well, we roar! Here, kids, jump in the Jeep! Roar! 2 T-Rexes came out of the dense jungle and started chasing us. Vroom, 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 vroom! We took off 50 miles per hour. The Rex was going 49! Roar! Snap, snap, snap! The male Rex had got one of the men. The female grabbed onto the man's head and ripped it off. Our Jeep was stopped. Why the heck did you stop? We yelled. Well, I'm waiting for Fred. Who the heck is Fred? Oh, that guy with the dinos? Okay. Listen very closely. Fred is dead! I told him. The driver started crying. Mitch went over to the driver and pushed him out of the Jeep. He turned the key and floored it. Vroom! Hey, Mitch, you can't drive! I yelled. This is just like Banshee Boardwalk on Mario Kart. You mean the place where you always crash and burn? Stetson hollered. Roar! Snap, snap, roar! Boom! The Rex had jumped on the Jeep. It's gonna blow! Lance hollered. We all dove out of the Jeep, except the men. Boom! Ashes filled the air, and dry grass went up in flames. Whoosh! The fire was coming toward us. Ah! There were flames on Lance's back. He dropped to the ground and rolled. Then the female Rex put her mouth over him and swallowed him whole. Roar! We ran into the forest. Young. Barbecue Lance. Chapter 4. Chirp, 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 caw. Wah, 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 wah. What was that? Keith said. I don't know, Mitch said. Oh. That's a Compsognathus. Compy for short, I told them. Are they dangerous? Asked Stetson. Very, I answered. Chirp, chirp. A compy popped into view. Chirp, chirp, caw. Here's some roast beef, Stetson offered. Stets, no! I shouted, but he had already gave it to him. Then about 100 compies jumped out of a bush. They were ambushing us. Me, Mitch, and Stets climbed up the nearest tree. The compies started trying to get us. Oops! My pistol slipped out of my back pocket. Keith caught it and started shooting. Bam, bam! He hit both compies he shot at. Skeet, skeet! A compy was climbing up the tree. It jumped on my shirt. It ripped the bottom half of my t-shirt. At least I had my leather vest on. Then I smelled a very foul stench. It was a dead brontosaurus. Some Struthiomimus were dragging it. Most of the compies went over to the kill. The Struthiomimus ate at least half of the compies. Now's our chance, I shouted. Oh, oof. Chirp, 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 chirp. The living compies ran after us. A compy jumped into the air and landed on Keith's head. It ripped off some of Keith's hair. Ah! Keith fell on the ground, struggling to get the compies off him. One ripped off a pant leg. They started gnawing on the bare flesh. Ah! Mitch, Stets, and I started throwing the compies off Keith. He had no skin on his left leg. There was blood everywhere. Keith was lying on the hard dirt ground. He was groaning and holding on to his leg. I went over to a small tree, cut it down, and made a splint for Keith. Mitch ripped off some of his shirt to hold the splint on. Rah! 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 Raptor, I said silently. Gulp, we're in trouble, Mitch said. Not trouble, Mitch. We're more or less dead, Stetson said. Oh, what am I gonna do? Keith yelled. Shh, we said. We heard something rustling in the foliage. The raptors were breathing hardly. Click. Mitch was getting out his pistol. I could see the two glowing eyes in front of me. I turned around. More eyes. I looked right. Eyes. I looked left. Eyes. Skaa! A raptor sprang. It landed a few feet from Keith. Ah! Yelled Keith. Chapter 5. 50 raptors. They surrounded us. Hiss, 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 hiss. Rrr. Their heads bobbed up and down as they walked. How are we gonna get out of this one, Ty? Stets asked. We're not, Mitch answered. No, Keith groaned. Roar! Roar! Boom! 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 Crunch! Roar! Two Rexes charged through the jungle. One Rex roared again and hit a raptor. Rah! The raptor screamed. Then the Rex swallowed it whole. Here's our chance, I yelled. I grabbed Keith, put him on my back, and ran. When we were finally far away enough, there was no raptors or Rexes. We saw an old Jeep. When we heard a hooting sound. Hoot, 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 hoot. Dilophosaurus, someone said. A 30-year-old man came out of a bush. Dilophosaurus? He kept repeating. I knew that name from Jurassic Park. It spit venom. Guys, get in the Jeep, I told them. We all climbed into the Jeep. Hoot, 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 hoot. Then 3 Dilophosaurus jumped out of the ferns. One started walking toward the man. Now he was screaming, Dilophosaurus! Dilophosaurus! Then the Dilophosaurus spit. A very beautiful frill spouted out of its neck and made a sound like a raptor. Ah! The man shouted. The 2 other Dilophosaurs came to feast on the man. One of them came over to the Jeep. It started banging its hard bone crest. It must have seen us. Crash! The window broke. Its neck frill popped out and spit. Something cold, sticky, and wet landed on my neck. The rest of the guys were in the back seat. Snap! Oh, I couldn't see very good now. I thought I was going blind, which is one of the spit side effects. But my glasses had broken. Then I had a stabbing pain in the back of my neck. I grabbed the back of my neck. I pulled off the spit and threw it at the Dilophosaurus. The pain was gone. We got out of the Jeep and crawled into the forest. Something brownish-green popped out of the ferns. It was a blur to me without my glasses. I just remembered I had an extra pair of glasses in my pocket. I took them out. One of the arms was broken. I grabbed a twig and a vine and tied the twig onto where the arm used to be. I could see the dinosaur clearly now. It was an Ornitholistes. It was brown with 2 red streaks down its back. It also had some thin feather-like things on its neck. It jumped onto a rock or something. No, it wasn't a rock, because I heard a metallic clang. That's no rock, Stetson said. Got that right, Stets, Mitch said. It's a power switch, Keith said. I crawled over to the switch. The other guys stayed there. As I got closer, the Ornitholistes hissed at me. He must have been scared, because it ran into a door behind the switch. I got up and walked over to the switch. It was all rusty. I pushed a silver button. Nothing happened. I pushed a gold button. Nothing happened. I tried all the buttons. Still, nothing happened. Then I saw a small switch in the lower left corner. I looked closer at it. One half was rusty green, and the other half was bluish green. I looked even closer. The red side said off. It was pushed in. The green side was not very clear. Most of the wording was rusted over. I took out my pocket knife and I scraped away the rust. It said on. I punched the button. Nothing happened. Stets, Keith, Mitch, come over here, I hollered. All of a sudden, lights went on. Mitch stood up. He had Keith on his back. Stetson came up beside me. Maybe there's food in there, he said. Maybe there's a wheelchair in there, Keith said. How desperate are you? Mitch said. Chirp, 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 chirp. Looks like the Ornitholistes brought some of his friends to play with us, I said. Let's get out of here, Mitch suggested. I went over to a steel door. I turned the knob, but it was rusted shut. I took out my pocket knife and tried to pry it open. The blade just broke off. I threw the scrap against the wall. Crash! Glass fell to the ground. A window, I thought aloud. We crawled in through the window. There was so much food. Everything was canned. Canned beef, canned oranges, canned corn, canned beans, canned everything. I grabbed a can of beef and dumped it in a kettle. Any of you guys cook at home? I said. Why? Mitch asked. I don't, I said. I'll cook, Keith said. Keith got off his wicker chair with the help of Mitch and Stets. Keith hobbled over to the stove and cooked us a meal. I polished off my beef fast. I started ruffling through the cabinets. I found a little bag and put 5 pocket knives, a package of 80 Band-Aids, and some lighters in the bag. I saw a file cabinet, opened a drawer, and I found a file that said, Secret. Chapter 6. I opened the file. I decided to sit down. Just south of this island, there is another island. The one who finds this is to go there or die? He or she may bring other people with him or her. Sincerely, John H. Guys, come look at this, I hollered. They came running. They gasped when they saw it. I put it in the bag. Krah! Raptor, we said. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, crash! The wood wall shattered. Splinters flew everywhere. Ah! Keith yelled. He must have got splinters in his cast. I grabbed a match out of the bag and threw it at the raptors. The whole cabin set on fire instead. Out of the cabin! I yelled. Mitch was first out. Me and Stetson were helping Keith out. I yelled. I fell to the ground. Take the bag. Save yourself, I said. Mitch ran in and tried to save me. But I just gave him the bag. Stetson, Keith, and Mitch hopefully made it out. The last thing I saw was flames going up around me. I woke up sometime later. I didn't know what time it was because my watch was broken. I tossed off my watch. Most of my hair was blackened, some of the rubber on my shoes was mostly melted, and my shirt was completely burnt off. My glasses were lying by me. The stick was burnt off. I reached over to get them. They were still hot, and some of the metal melted over the glass. Not much of the cabin was gone. The raptors were gone, and so was the guys. I hurt all over, but I got up and ran into the forest. My half-melted shoes stuck to the ground, so I took them off. I came to a shallow river. I slid down the muddy bank. I put my shoes in the river so the melted rubber would harden. Sizzle! I walked over to a clump of bushes and let my shoes dry. Sometime later I woke up. I must have taken a nap. Rustle, rustle. I grabbed my glasses and looked around. Moo, moo. Rustle. 15 stegosaurs came out of the brush. There were 2 babies and 13 adults. I came out of the bush. The stegosaurs paused a minute, and then they went on grazing and drinking. I walked over to the river to drink. I grabbed a large leaf and cupped it so I could drink. Ty! I heard. It was Mitch. I got up and ran over to him. Mitch had made them mad. One of the stegos was charging Mitch. Mitch dived into some ferns, and the bone spikes of the stegos swished a half-inch over Mitch's head. When the stegos had left, I went over to the fern where Mitch was. He was there, but his back had an inch-wide cut in it. He was breathing hard, trying not to cry. Sorry, Mitch, I don't have any more shirt to bandage it, I told him. I'll be fine, I heard Mitch grumble. I grabbed Mitch under his arms and dragged him over to the river. I put his back in the water to wash off the germs. Ah, that stings, Mitch said. I know it does, but it washes away the germs, I said. Where are the other guys? I asked. Well, we split up to find you. You what? I yelled. You split up with all these dinos running around? I yelled again. Well, let's go find Stetson Keith, I said. I helped Mitch up. Is Keith with Stetson? I asked. Yeah, Mitch answered. They headed that way. Mitch pointed left. Let's go, I said. Rah, 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 rah. Raptor, we said. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Skaa! A raptor sprang out of the bushes. It bent down in attack position, bobbing up and down as it walked. Me and Mitch walked backward fast. Up the tree, I whispered. Mitch climbed up the tree. The raptor jumped at him, his jaws missing inches from Mitch's head. I jumped up on a branch and pulled myself up. The branch was cracking. It broke and landed on the raptor's head, knocking him unconscious. A few seconds later, the raptor woke up. That gave me just enough time to get up the tree. It got dark fast, and Mitch and I started to get sleepy. The raptor had left. Go to sleep, Mitch. I'll go look for Keith and Stets, I said. The next thing I knew, Mitch was asleep. Yo! Tyler! It was Keith and Stets. I dropped out of the tree. Boy, you're basically burnt, Keith said. Where's your shirt? Stetson said. The little bit I had left was burnt at the fire, I said. Stetson and I helped Keith up the tree. Don't wake Mitch, Stetson said. We stayed there all night. I was the only one that stayed awake that night. Keith's bad leg was sprawled over my lap. Everyone woke up at the noise. Ah! Keith yelled. Stetson covered Keith's mouth in alarm. Mitch opened one of his eyes. Ah! He yelled. Relax, relax. It's only a brachiosaurus, I told them. Phew, they said. Boom, 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 boom. The brack was by our tree now. Mitch reached out to pet it. The brack didn't mind. Roar! A T-Rex head came into view. The Rex bit into the brack's neck. The brack hollered in pain. The brack's massive tail hit the tree and shook it. He hit the tree again. This time, the trunk shattered. Slivers of wood flew all over. Ah! Stetson yelled as he flew off the tree. My neck snapped back, almost breaking it and killing me. When I hit the ground, my arm twisted, pulling the muscle and snapping the bone. Ah! Ah! I yelled in pain. I felt sorry for my arm and Keith's leg. The Rex's leg was a 1/4 inch from my head. I tried to crawl away, but I couldn't with my arm in so much pain. I got up using only my right hand. Stetson was the only one not badly hurt. Then the Rex's mighty tail hit me, knocking the air out of me. I laid on the ground, grasping my neck and suffering. I gasped for air, near unconsciousness finally. Finally, I got air, good old air. I got up again, running toward Keith. His eyes were watering. He was gasping for air. Then I remembered Keith has asthma. I reached into all of Keith's pockets finally. I found his inhaler. Keith was breathing normally again. Let's go get Mitch and Stetson, I told Keith. Stetson was under the fallen tree, groaning. Mitch was with Stets, trying to pull him out. Are you hurt very bad? Keith asked. Nah, just a little pain in the back, Stetson joked. Stets, this is no joke. You could have been killed, I said. Roar! The Rex's tail whizzed over our heads. Crash! The trunk shattered. We pulled Stetson out of the remainder of the trunk. Boom! Boom! The Brack's body hit the ground. Dust flew over us. The Rex bent down to eat its kill when he saw more interesting prey. Us! It It charged at us. Boom, crash! It knocked down trees as it ran. We'll never outrun a T-Rex, I said. Whoa! I tripped over a half-buried rock. I hit ground. Roar! The Rex was right behind me. I closed my eyes. Roar! Boom, 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 boom. I opened one eye and looked up. The Rex had stopped. It was turning its head left and right and looking for something. I could see Mitch and Keith crawl behind a cluster of boulders. Stetson was standing a few feet in front of the Rex. He was breathing hard and clutching his hands in terror. Go, Stets! That only works in Jurassic Park, the movie! In a real Jurassic Park, anybody that tries that is Dino Chow! I said. Stetson backed up slowly, then stopped, then ran. He dived behind the boulders. Dust flew, and the Rex became uneasy. Boom, 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 boom. The Rex stomped his feet, almost crushing me. I pulled myself out from underneath the Rex using only one arm. I had my broken one behind my back. The Rex's tail hit my head, making my head spin. I got up. I was dizzy. Stars spun around my head. I held my head, and then I crashed into something. It was hard yet soft, bumpy and very dry. My head finally stopped spinning. I realized I had slammed into the Rex's left leg. The Rex looked at me, eyes glowing. He turned around, dropped his head so we were eye to eye. His hot, stinky breath blew in my face. Oh, dino breath, I said. It butted me with its head, pushing me to the ground. Then it swooped down its head again, this time throwing me 8 feet in the air. Then I stopped and started to fall to the ground. Right then, I knew I was a goner. The T-Rex was right below me. Maybe I could land on him. The Rex started to walk away. Ah! I yelled. Swash! The Rex's tail swung. I grabbed onto its tail. Oh, it must have been a miracle. Then the Rex noticed me because he threw me to the ground. Then the Rex just walked away. It must have had its fill on the Brachiosaurus. Mitch and Stetson ran over to me and asked me if I was okay. I told them that I only had a few bruises on my head and arms. Somebody go get Keith, I said. We ran over to the pile of boulders where he had hid. Our mouths dropped open. Where Keith was, there was only blood splattered all over. Keith's left arm and his shattered glasses. Oh no, Stetson said silently. I picked up Keith's arm and examined it. It was bitten off by a type of raptor, I said. Uniraptor, to be exact. The blood trail goes that way. Maybe we'll find a radio or something to call a helicopter, I said. Wait, there's some Jeep tracks leading that way too, Stetson said. Well, maybe there's a radio or a shop or something there, Mitch said. They're awfully old tracks, but it's worth a try, Stetson said. Chapter 7. So we started off down the trail. Up ahead, we saw a sign and a metal building. The Jeep tracks led up through the sign. Then we saw it parked by the building. Then we saw Keith sprawled on the ground, his bad leg ripped all apart. He also had a bite taken out of his cheek. I found some tracks leading into the building. They looked like this. Uniraptor tracks. "Let's get in the Jeep," Mitch said. "Oh, come on, it's a Cherokee," Stetson said. "Come on, guys, we got to get out of here before the Uniraptors get back," I told them. "He's got a point," Mitch said, jumping in the Jeep. Crash! The window of the building broke. A head of a Uniraptor popped out. Uniraptors are much smarter than normal raptors. Well, anyway, the Uniraptor had just poked its head out of the window. Then it slipped out of the window and crouched low to the ground and slipped up to the Jeep like a cat. Suddenly, the Uniraptor sprang up, jumping in the Jeep. "Ah!" Mitch yelled. I slid over to the driver's seat. I pulled the gear shift back. The Jeep wheezed. "Stetson, help me look for the key," I yelled. "Mitch, crawl under that tarp in the back. Maybe the Uniraptor won't find you there," I told Mitch. Stetson and I crouched down to the bottom of the Jeep looking for the key. "Hey, I found a radio," Mitch yelled. "Be right back, Stets. If you find the key, go ahead and drive," I said. I crawled back in the tarp with Mitch. "Hand me the radio," I told Mitch. I pushed the talk button. All I got was static, and then it just stopped. I opened the battery pack. All the batteries were busted, and acid dripped all over. I grabbed a cup and dumped the batteries and acid into it. I stood up and hollered, "Hey, Unidork! Chew on this!" I hollered as I threw the acid at him. The acid splattered all over the Uniraptor. His eyes started to water. It turned red. It started peeling off its skin. The Uniraptor roared in pain. "I got the keys!" Stetson hollered. "Throw it to me," I said. I caught the key, pushed out the Uniraptor out of the Jeep. "Ah," the Uniraptor grumbled. Just then, 5 more Unas jumped out of the window. I stuck the key in the slot and pulled the gear shift to 4-wheel drive. Room, room, I revved it up, then foom! The Jeep shot off only 42 miles per hour. The Unas were just behind us. Something was just in front of us. Was it a big boulder? No, it was an ankylosaur. The living tank got up and swung its mighty rock-hard tail and hit the car. The engine busted, spewing oil all over. 3 of the Uniraptors attacked the ankylosaur. The other 2 attacked us. "Mitch, go see if you can find some more batteries. If you do, pop them in the radio and tell Jake to get his helicopter and butt over here," I yelled. "Me and Stets can handle the Uniraptors." "We can?" Stetson said. "What's that noise?" Stetson asked. I looked up in the sky. I could just make out a little red dot with a propeller on top. "Hey guys, it's Jake!" I yelled. He's going to land on the shore over there," Mitch yelled. "Come on," Stetson said. We all jumped out of the Jeep and started running toward the shore. The Uniraptors had lost interest in us. "Roar! Roar! Faster! Faster!" I yelled. "The Rexes! Roar!" 5 T-Rexes burst out of the dense jungle. Trees were knocked down. Bird and pterodactyls fled. We were only a few feet away from the helicopter. Mitch jumped into the helicopter. Rexes only a mile away. Jake rose off the ground and threw a rope for me to climb up. I climbed up it. Just then, the rope fell to the ground. I clutched to the edge of the copter. Jake and Mitch pulled me up. Stetson was still on the ground. "Oh, we have to get Stetson," Mitch yelled. "But the T-Rexes will get T-Rexes," Jake hollered, and he lowered the copter just enough so Stetson could jump in. We rose off that dreaded island. Then I remembered the note from the cabin about another island. But then I said in my head to myself, "I'll wait a few months." Chapter 8. The next day, Casey, Stetson, Jake, and Shannon came to see me and Mitch at the hospital. I told everybody that I just broke my arm. Until next time, this is Tyler, signing off. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Oh, my voice is gone. Chirp, chirp. Chirp, chirp. Chirp, chirp. Chapter 4.